Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Arsenic and Espresso. I'm Alice Arsenic. This is my co-host Josh, and this is a podcast where we rarely drink coffee, but we always talk about metal music. I think it's 2 weeks now. This might be 2 week ago news today.
Last month's news today.
Ronnie Radke came under fire again.
Right.
Because he posted what people perceived as anti-mask and anti-vax rhetoric on his Twitter. I went through it. Some of it was a little iffy.
Okay.
He, in a nutshell, he was pretty much saying, like, it is super difficult and super frustrating to be traveling across the United States. You go to one state that takes things super, super seriously, and it becomes really difficult to perform. You go to another state, and nobody gives a shit what you're doing. And people are still getting sick regardless of what is happening. He then came under the most dramatic fire over on TikTok. And the videos that were being made about him were very dramatic. And he did a lot of responses, kind of just calling these people out, saying, you're just chasing clout. You're just trying to do something to use my name to get attention. You don't actually care what I'm doing. You don't actually know what I'm doing. You're just reading the headlines, and that's all. Which I agree. I think a lot of these people, they were grasping at straws, if you will.
For the amount of super fans that he has, that are absolutely willing to do just about anything for him, and will go to bat for his name no matter what he does. He has just as many people who are also just like chomping at the bit so that they can post a video in a negative light of him.
Almost like they're trying to catch him doing something. Right? Almost like they're trying to catch him doing.
And most of it's bad too. Most of it's like, can you believe he's dumb and stupid?
And that's really all they have to bring to the table. Now, this may come to a surprise to everyone. I do not personally know Ronnie Radke.
Shocker.
I know.
Like, I'm shaking. That is a
But what I will say is that we cannot know a celebrity beyond what they show us.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, Ronnie Radke is a celebrity. He is someone who has created a persona. He has created an idea of how he wants to be perceived, and that is how he continues to behave. Now, I absolutely feel that he is putting his true self out there with his music. I think on his Twitter, he's not like, his tweets aren't being ran through a PR person.
No, that's him.
His TikTok is him. Like, it's not like he's putting on a facade, but it is still a curated persona.
Right.
It is still, you are only seeing the parts that he wants you to see.
We've talked about this a lot, right?
Yes.
Any online personality, they show you what they want you to see.
Yes.
Now, he does a lot more live stuff, like via Twitch, and it's a whole lot harder to like try to be somebody you're not when it's long live segments.
When you're live for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, it does become difficult to maintain that persona.
Right.
And so I feel like if there were gotcha moments, it would be then when he's tired, when his guard is down, maybe. And it's funny because there's no clips of that being video grabbed, being screen grabbed and posted all over the internet. It's screenshots of tweets or whatever. So people were freaking out. They were like, oh, he's anti-vax. He's anti-mask. He got on TikTok and he was pretty much just said, he was like, well, first of all, you don't know me, which is true. And he also had a few anecdotal stories about their experiences touring. He said, like, myself and all of my band members, we are fully vaccinated. Ronnie Radke, still contracted COVID and gave it to all of his bandmates. And he was like, we were all fully vaccinated and we all wore masks and we still got it.
Yeah.
And so I think there's just a huge level of frustration. And I don't think people were realizing there's a difference between being anti-vax, anti-mask, and being frustrated.
Yeah.
Like, we're coming up on year 3 of this situation. It is incredibly frustrating. I will also say that his experience is anecdotal. He is on a tour bus in very small confined spaces. It is super hard to keep things clean.
Right.
And like, were all of the band members masking the entire time they were on the bus?
Right. Were they wiping down surfaces?
Were they wiping down surfaces? I can honestly
Right.
say in my personal work that I do, it's fairly confined space. Every single person has to wear a mask. Not everyone is vaccinated, but every single person has to wear a mask, and everything has to be sanitized and wiped down on a regular basis.
Right.
I can also say we've had a few people who have contracted COVID, and we have been able to isolate those cases, and it has not spread to the rest of my team.
Right.
So my anecdotal experience is that masks work.
Right.
His anecdotal experience is that masks don't work.
Right.
Regardless, people are frustrated. People are frustrated that we are coming up on year 3 of this. I cannot imagine how frustrating it is to go to one place and just be allowed to perform, do your job, get in, get out, and then go to the next place and be like, okay, well, you have to prove all of these things. You have to do all of these things. You can only have this many people, and we're going to put all of these restrictions in place, but we're also not going to explain why we're putting these restrictions in place. And we're going to make it really difficult for you to do your job. That would be super, super frustrating. Do I think he had the right take? Not necessarily. Is he entitled to his own opinion? Absolutely. And is in his anecdotal experience, I can get why he's frustrated.
Yeah. It's honestly a burden that celebrities have. Anybody who is in the limelight, anybody who has any sort of following, they have to be careful what they say. Not only careful what they say, but what people hear.
And how it can be perceived,
Right. And so for me, I think that it's sort of a dangerous route because you have a lot of different bands and things coming out as like fully anti-vax, anti-mask, right?
And spewing some very dangerous misinformation.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes from. And I've seen the fans on his Twitter on responding on TikTok and different things, talking about how, oh yeah, that's right, Ronnie is completely right wing and he is completely anti-mask and anti-vax, and I'm glad that he shares my same sentiment. And like that's where it gets dangerous, right? Because, and I'll link down below a couple of studies that show like the effectiveness of masks, the effectiveness of vaccines and things like that, and
have nothing to do with United States politics.
Yes, exactly. And I think that it's important to look at that stuff, because I think his latest single that he dropped really explains both sides of the story, right? First off, people are always trying to cancel him for every reason. It doesn't matter what it was. It's probably something 10 years ago that he said. They're still angry about that.
Right.
Second, there's a lot of people just following mindlessly. I saw a lot of people in our comments when we did the reaction being like, yeah, F Joe Biden, or, whatever.
You mean let's go Brandon?
Oh, yeah, let's go Brandon. That's what they say. And I was like, I don't think you're getting the whole point. No. Right?
Because
like,
also in the video, the people storming the Capitol were the zombies.
Right.
I digress.
And so, but I don't think that Ronnie was trying to take a left or right approach to that, but just saying like there's a lot of voices out there, and if you just follow mindlessly, and so if you're
gonna get it wrong,
right? And so if you follow the right wing, rhetoric, and you're like, oh yeah, masks don't work, vaccines don't work, right? This is all pointless. Why are we still doing this? Then you end up pushing a lot of rhetoric that is dangerous, right?
Yes.
However, if you're on the other side and you're just like, oh yeah, Papa Joe said wear a mask, like
Papa Joe,
right? You're dumb. Like, no, you need the choices that you make have to be yours from actual research, not just finding out what was spewed on Fox or what was said on CNN
or Facebook. Yeah.
Nothing you ever read on Facebook you should ever
don't take any of it seriously.
None of it.
The
but
metaverse
anyways,
is a lie.
Like, look at the research, look at the actual research, right? Us as human beings, like I know a lot of people as like regular civilians, right? A lot of us say, oh, I did my own research. No, you didn't. You read somebody else's research, right? And so understand that that's all that you can do. You are not in the field to do that research, right? Your analytical, your anecdotal evidence
is not research.
Is not research. Right? It might affect the way that you think about things, but it is not actual research.
And it might affect your actions.
Yes.
It might affect the actions you take in a situation. I think, not to go off on a tangent, but I think the United States has a really hard time acknowledging that the rest of the world has not politicized a vaccine and mask mandates. And they refuse to acknowledge that a lot of these countries that are dropping these mandates have significantly smaller populations than the United States, and that a greater majority of their populations have been vaccinated.
Right.
So, in turn, simply based on science, they do not need vaccine mandates anymore. They do not need mask mandates anymore because most people are protected from this virus.
Yep. I don't want to get too far on the
No, and
on that, but
I think to kind of wrap up what you were saying, like celebrities have to be really, really careful.
Mhm.
Someone like Ronnie, he's got a massive pull with millions of people.
Right.
Millions. And so if tomorrow he came out and said, you know, I don't even know what.
Right.
Everyone should only wear blue shorts for the rest of their lives. Like millions of people
There's going to be a lot
do
of
it.
people that do that. Yeah.
And I don't think
regardless.
like your average fan realizes how intense the super fandoms become in these situations. And I mean we've talked a little bit about certain stans and super fans of certain bands on this channel. And the fact is like when you get to that stan level, things start to get dangerous. And I don't think your average metalhead realizes that.
Right.
I don't think people realize how dangerous people get when they start to take things personally.
Right.
And when they start to think when they start to believe rather that their parasocial relationship with this rock star is real.
Yeah.
And that rock star wants them to do something.
Right.
And that it's a personal connection between the two of them. I don't think your average person realizes how dangerous and how volatile that can be in any regard, not just masking, not just vaccines, in general, ever. And it has been that way since celebrities were a thing.
Yep. Well, and I think like one last point that I want to make on the vaccines and masks in general is it's also important to realize who's telling you the information too. So for instance, entertainers and performers, their revenue benefits from no mask mandates and no vaccine mandates. And I'm not going to say that Ronnie Radke or any of these other people have only said so that they can make more money. But I'm not going to pretend like that doesn't exist out there for some of these responses that we've seen.
I agree.
I would not pin that on anybody without like legitimate evidence. This is not an accusation at all. But
it's just factual that these people make money based off being able to sell tickets to people to come see them in person.
And that's and not only just the money factor too, but these people love to perform. Yes. Right? Like, I mean, for instance, Ronnie Radke has made a lot of money streaming during the pandemic. So it might not even be a monetary thing, but the fact of just like getting out there and performing, doing what he loves to do, might be a factor, right? I know you're like, can I just stay home?
I'm like, center of attention. No, gracias.
Ugh. But anyways, I definitely don't want to get into like a heated debate at all. But I do want to know what your guys' thoughts are on the situation in general. Do you feel like he's being treated fair? Do you feel like he's not being treated fair? And do you feel like he's being held accountable for anything that he has said or alluded to? Or do you feel like people are kind of sweeping it under the rug?
I think people are just trying to cancel him because they want something to do.
Yes.
And so they are trying to find anything that they can that is even remotely taboo to latch onto and to be like, see, he's a shitty person.
Right.
And he even called people out on TikTok, not to keep talking about this, but he even called people out on TikTok. He was like, why? Because I'm a murderer.
Right.
And then he just like he called people out in the sense of like, they literally just read the headlines. They did not try to do any actual deep dive into who he is or what has happened in his life, or anything like that.
Right.
I also want to talk about prison, but I won't. Save that for another video.
Yep.
Prison system fails everyone. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, did you have anything else?
No, just what you were gonna say. If you like what you saw, I would love to do more of these news stories and things like that. They're gonna come regardless of what you guys think. But I do want to know how many of you guys love this sort of content.
I thought you were gonna say MG.
Love MGK. No, I don't want to know. But
keep that to yourself.
I do want to know, like, what topics are interesting to you guys, for those of you that made it this far. If there's anything that you think we should check out, definitely hit us up on either the YouTube channel. We read almost every single comment. I'm probably sure every single comment. Or you could reach out to us on Twitter or Instagram as well. And with that being said,
hit the like button and subscribe for more content like this.
See you guys next time.